What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in to the Uncommon Mindset podcast. Today, I'm joined by the incredible Dan Chapman. I'll give you a brief background on who Dan is. Dan is someone who is involved in the baddest sport out there, bare knuckle boxing. He's a professional with a record of 2 wins and no losses. Chapman was a member of Great Britain's amateur setup. He was a contender for the 2012 London Olympics. However, a tragic motorbike accident crushed those hopes, and against all odds, where doctors told him he could never train again, Chapman defied all odds and has come out a stronger man. Fast forward a decade, and Chapman has got a world title shot. What an uncommon individual he is, and it's such a pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Pleasure.
No worries, Dan. I just want to start off by asking you about your upbringing, because I know that the upbringing you've had is kind of crazy, right? So I just want you to touch on that a bit, if that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. To be fair, I've dealt with my past. It's great that I can actually talk about it because I just really never had the opportunity to really express my feelings about things that went on when I was a child. Linking in with the sport of boxing, it's helped me massively. Boxing has to focus on something positive because of all the negative things happening to me when I was such a young child. I was in and out of foster care from a young age. My mum was a full-blown alcoholic and used to take a lot of drugs. And the word I can explain, my stepdad sort of thing. He was the same, into drugs and into all sorts of things. And from a young age, I got to see it all. So being in and out of foster care was tough because I never really had a home. So as a young person, a child needs his basic needs, and that's what I didn't have as a young child. So in and out of foster care, I found it really hard to trust people, and really just let my guard down. But I think the things that happened to me when I was a young child, I think has 100% made me a stronger person today. Going through drugs and alcohol and seeing all of the things that those things do to a human being, watching my mother deteriorate, make really bad decisions, even though I like drugs and alcohol was a massive took a massive effect on me growing up as a young child. It didn't let it affect me. I was really positive. I just knew that one day that I was going to get out of this situation and be away from those negative people and those negative surroundings. And it took a long time for that to happen. But I was very fortunate that I didn't struggle with ADHD. I didn't struggle with family attachment issues. And going in and out of foster care, I eventually found a really good home where they treated me like their own son. And I just remember the turning point for me was my mother went to jail for about 2 years. And I knew that my mum could be clean then for 2 years. Obviously, she's in jail. She couldn't touch no drugs, no alcohol. My mum sent me lots of letters saying lots of promises. And in the past, those promises were always let down, but I really thought this could have been a turning point of really when my life would start. But what changed for me is the day she come out of jail, she rang me drunk and off her face. And that was the day, I think I was about 9 years of age. But I just thought, this is where the line, this is where it stops, for me to move on with my life. I was mature enough to make that decision at the age of 9, but I thought, you know what? I gotta let that problem go. I didn't have the life experience to take on those problems and have many more promises broken to me, I remember my bedroom was full of letters or promises, and the day she came out of jail, all those letters meant nothing. So I just realized then, I spoke to my foster parents at the time, which they were amazing people. There was a little village called Blaen Gwynfi. He was right up in the valleys. They called it Little Switzerland. I didn't have a clue where I was. And that's when I said to them, look, I'm going to allow you to be my mum and dad because you love me like I said. So, after all those years of being out of hostels, foster homes, children homes, I remember being in a child's home, and I remember this kid trying to stab me with his fork.
Wow.
It was eventually it was so good to be in a home where I could settle. And like you said, at the age of 9, I could make that decision on where this is where my life starts. And I was always smiling, and I loved football as a young child. So when I let that happen, when I said no more, I said, that's where I disowned my mum. This is where I will never speak to you again, because I just couldn't move on in my life. I was too, it was tearing me apart in all different angles, and so like you said, going to this, quality foster home, that's when life started, and that's when, I started boxing. I was always a positive and had lots of energy as a young child, and I used to turn boxing over, believe it or not. I remember Carl Zaghi being on TV, or back in the day, it was on ITV, and I just remember squared up, I love watching football. Honestly, I had no boxing in the family, nothing. And I loved the training. And a coach called John Radmore, it hadn't been a gym open in 50 odd years, and he spent a lot of time with me and developed me as a nice little boxer. And then the journey started. I went on then to win Welsh. I think I won a Welsh title on my 3rd fight, so I was thrown in the deep end quite early.
Wow.
I remember everyone used to say, "Oh, he's so fast," and that's all I had. I didn't have no experience. I just fast.
In and out.
And I didn't expect to do well in boxing. I just seen how it goes. As a young boy, you don't know where you're going to go. And I started winning Welsh title after Welsh title. I went on to win British titles. And then I remember it was in 2008, I went to the Youth Commonwealth Games. And I went on and won the Youth Commonwealth Games. I was the first ever Welsh youth boxer to ever win a Welsh Commonwealth Games as a boxer. Wow. So that was the time when I realised, I can actually do something with boxing. Even though I think I won about 10 Welsh titles at the time. You don't until you win a big medal, that's when you realise, I can really do this. I started believing in myself, and at the time, I think I knocked a Canadian out, and then I stopped the South African, and then I beat a well-known boxer who's doing really well today, James Dickens, Jazza Dickens. And I think do you do a documentary, podcast with Tasha?
Yeah, Tasha Jonas, yeah.
So, they're from Liverpool. I remember Tasha being on the GB team with us, and I beat James Dickens in the final by 1 point. Wow. It was an epic fight. James is a quality operator, probably one of the most skillful southpaws you see out there. And that's when I realized, I can do something in my career. Then the next steps after that, I got on to Team GB. That's when, the road to 2012 started.
Yeah, no, just the mindset and the person you are, honestly, it's incredible. It's incredible to hear, and you've always stayed positive during the tough times of your upbringing, and it's hard for people to go through something like that. I can't imagine what you've gone through, and you've come out of it as a stronger person, which is incredible. I really respect that for who you are. Yeah.
But going in, a lot of people just know me for my boxing. So when we speak about boxing, I mention my name. Oh, Dan, he's a good little boxer, etc. But I never really played on my past. 90% of people don't know what I went through, because I sort of dealt with it and I just let it go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? A lot of people say, oh, I have an upbringing, and they're using it as an excuse, or when they make wrong decisions, they go, it's because of my past. Well, there's so many bad things. I can't discuss some of this stuff because it's so deep. But it's not parent guidance, I should say. But I just thought, I gotta let it go.
Yeah.
Because I think I was more worried growing up that when you're young, you don't have no responsibilities, do you? So the only thing I was worried about is as I was growing up, would it catch up with me? And that's something now as I'm growing up, that's what I'm having to deal with. Is just like, I have all this life experience now, and I'm a forgiving person. What have happened in the past has happened. I let it go, you know, and that's the end of that. But I feel like I hope it just doesn't want to creep up with me as I'm getting older. And then I start thinking about the past. And I think, and this is why I think it's really important to talk about it and express my feelings to other people who may be in that position, or, you know, explain to people how I dealt with my past and through the rough times. And from the many of the podcasts that I've done recently, a lot of people messaged me, and I didn't realize how many people that I knew closely were going through those things. And it's just nice to see the positive feedback from them, to say how much that helped them. And I was quite shocked, to be honest with you. So yeah, you know, for me, like you said, is just I never really talked about my past, and everyone thinks, oh, he's a cocky little shit, you know, he's tan, he's got blue eyes, he's a good boxer, but you know, there is a story behind it all, you know.
Of course, yeah. And you know, that's the great thing about you, I think, is that, you know, you're a bigger person for speaking about it, which is incredible, honestly. Let's talk about obviously, you know, you were training with Luke Campbell, is that correct? Or you were in the same
well, the 2012 Team GB team was a quality team. You know, we had, you know, Luke Campbell, Tom Stalker, Andrew Selby, Callum Smith, Anthony Gogo, you know, all those big names, Fred Evans. It was just a quality team. And over the years, from 2008 Olympics, like with the Billy Joe, Bradley Saunders, Khaled Yafai, they all qualified for the 2012. So that brought more funding for the 2012 team. So, you know, that's when Team GB could really, you know, advance the program, reach out to more young fighters, talented fighters, and push us through the development team and then onto the podium team. And that's what happened, you know. Robert Crackden became our coach. That's Anthony Joshua's coach right now. He was our Olympic coach. I know he was a great guy. He's from Birmingham, and I think he was 18-0 as a pro, Robert Crackden was. And it was just, when he came on board, the setup had changed. You know, we had a couple of Team GB coaches before that, but then when he came on board, you know, he just created great fighters.
Yeah. You know, like obviously earlier I mentioned about you and your motorbike accident. Talk to me about that, because that must have been a crazy time for you, right? Both mentally and physically.
Well, it was like my journey to 2012 was really up and down. You know, it weren't plain sailing. Even though I was on Team GB, after the Commonwealth Games and winning the gold to 51 kilos, I was only training twice a day at the time. And then when I got onto Team GB, I started training 4 times a day. And I was only 17. So when I was 17, I think I was so inexperienced to be on Team GB. I think I only had about 17 to 20 fights. I had hardly any experience compared to like Luke Campbell and many other top operators on Team GB. But they classed us as the same. They didn't look at that. So, you know, leading up to that 2012 was hard, because I went from 51 kilos, I started struggling with my weight. Because of the girls came into the Olympic team, they changed the weights. So they got rid of 51, brought in 52, which I thought that would help me, that extra kilo, and got rid of 57 and put 56 kilos in. So there was a couple of good fighters in above weight of 56 kilos, but I knew I was big enough to make that weight. But Rob McCracken at the time didn't think I was big enough for the weight, so that was the pressure. And unfortunately, you know, even though I was on Team GB, I went through some tough times on there as well. I know I ended up having an eating disorder because of the pressures of trying to stay at that weight. You know, I had the whole world in front of me for 2012. Like, we had our own nutritionist, strength and conditioning coach. Everything was paid for, lottery fund that wasn't even taxed. So everything we had was in our pocket, you know. So we were full-time athletes, training 3 to 4 times a day. And the setup up in Sheffield was phenomenal, you know. I remember we was training with Jessica Ennis every day. You know, she was a phenomenal athlete, and you know, at the time she just won the European Championship, so she weren't really known. But yeah, you could see everybody's journeys changing. But I did start to struggle at 51 kilos, and it started affecting my performance. And I said to Rob, I said, look, you know, I keep coming back in the red zone because you train Monday to Thursday or Monday to Friday, and you could go home to see family on the weekend. So I'd leave Sheffield about 52 kilos. The time I would travel back to Wales on the train, I would have blown back up to 60 kilo easily. And I was just a bit of fluids. Like. So after training 4 times a day every day, Monday, I'm going to be back down to 52 kilos. Otherwise, I'm going to get a fine, or I'm going to have a meeting with Rob and he's going to give me a row. So that's where the eating disorder crept in, and, you know, the dehydration and, you know, just doing everything you shouldn't do to make weight. And it did start to affect my performance. And I said to Rob, look, I can't keep, you know, making this weight. It's killing me. You know, I was so shredded. I had like, I think I went down to 3% body fat, and that sounds amazing, but it's not good, you know. But yeah, you know, and then I got released from Team GB, and then I said to Rob, look, you'll be back on the team, he said to me, if you win the senior title at 51. I said, Rob, I will be winning the senior title, but it won't be a 51, it'll be a 56 kilos. And on that year, it was such a scare. I'd given all my life to take for the 2012 Olympics. And then it was all in that final year, you know, where I knew, well, I just had a word to myself. I was always quite realistic and thinking, well, can I get any better than I was when I had the whole world in front of me? I'm thinking, or am I going to get worse, you know? But when I moved up the weight, I became faster, became stronger. And that year I went on to win the Welsh Seniors. I beat Jay Harris in the final. I think it was 15-0. Didn't, you know, it was Jay's a great fighter now. He's doing really well. And, you know, I went on to win that. And I was still elite on Team Wales. So all the elite athletes on Team Wales had a letter. So if you won the Welsh Championships, you'd automatically go to the Olympic qualifier in Azerbaijan.
That's where I'm from.
I thought, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was born.
I've been there with Team Wales and Team GB. I went there about 6 times internationally. It's a crazy country.
Did you go to Baku?
Yeah, Baku, yeah.
That's crazy. Sorry, yeah, carry on.
Like, yeah, I mean, I loved Azerbaijan. It was crazy. Like, I remember, I just tell you a quick story. When we was making weight out there, the food out there at the time wasn't great. So we went into this little store, and all Team Wales, we were starving, right? So we went into the store, and I love sweets, right? I'm a sweet fanatic. You know, any sour sweets or jelly sweets, I love them. And it's like, oh, there's loads of sweets. And all of a sudden I turned, and there was a dead cow hanging over the counter. I was like, I don't know if I love sweets anymore, you know? And but in the end, we didn't buy anything because it was like blood dripping and everything. I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I bought a can of Pringles because they were sealed. And we went to the room, and every Pringle we ate, we jumped back on the scales to check our weight. Oh, but it's crazy. But yeah, going back to the story, you know, yeah, leading up to that, we'd all go to the Olympic qualifier. And at the time, Sean McGoldrick just won the senior Commonwealth Games of 56 kilos. Now, Sean was meant to be in the senior championships that year, but he didn't enter. And I just like, why didn't he enter? Like, this is the year of qualifying for the 2012 Olympics. So Wales threw another obstacle in my way. And I sparred with Sean all the way up to the Commonwealth Games, to the senior event out in India. And I knew I could beat Sean. I've sparred him all the way through the 12-week camp. Because I moved up from 51, he qualified for 56 for India. So I missed my chance to go into the senior when I knew I could have won that. I was gutted. So I wanted to win the youth out in India, and then I wanted to win the senior out in India. But anyway, he qualified, and that was just the way it was. But he went on to win it, but he didn't enter the championships, and I beat Jay. But then Wales put an obstacle there, and he said, well, Dan, if you want to go to the Olympic qualifiers, you've got to fight Sean. And at the time, they wanted to do it behind closed doors. And I was like, nah, no chance. Yeah. And I said, look, I'll fight Sean anywhere. I'm not, you know, Colin Jones was our national coach at the time. And I said, I'll fight Sean I said, you've seen me sparring for the whole 12 weeks of the Commonwealth Games. So anyway, they ended up putting an event on in Swansea, and I turned Sean over as well. I give him, a real good boxing lesson. He's a great operator, Sean is, they call him the quiet man, and, he got hands of stone. He was a big puncher. So he brought the best out of me, in that fight, and it was really good. And then, I qualified for the Olympic qualifiers. So I was going to Azerbaijan, and it would have been, out of me and Luke Campbell, we would have gone the furthest. So whoever would have got the furthest in Azerbaijan, that you would have qualified for the Olympic Games. Oh. But if you win a medal out in Azerbaijan, normally you would have qualified anyway. But at the time, when I moved to 56 kilos, it was the best I've ever felt in my whole career. I genuinely believed that no one could have beaten me in a world of that weight. So, and then I trained really hard for that camp, and it's probably the fittest I've ever been, the most strongest I've ever been. And when I moved up to 56, it's something in my armour that I never had, because I was always known for being fast, was I was knocking boys out in sparring and everything. And it was just like, I knew this was my right weight. I didn't have to dehydrate myself. I was making my weight quite comfortable. The half a stone made such a difference to my performance. And yeah, that unfortunately then a week before going to Azerbaijan, I had a road bike on the road, and it was such a cheap run around. I used to go there and travel everywhere for my sparring on my motorbike. But I had a really freak accident, and I snapped my femur in like 3 or 4 places. My shoulder blade, my hands, I broke my wrist. The handlebars went through my hand. It was really, really bad. And at the time, even though I'd given so much time to boxing, when the doctor said I'd never box again, I was like, as a person, I'm quite realistic. I accepted it. I knew I was in a bad way, and he said I'd walk with a limp forever. He basically said to me, "You better off playing darts."
No way.
Yeah, and he said, "Don't ever think you're going to run again, even though walk tidy again." So, it's been a long journey. It took me 7 years of rehab, and then after the femur getting better, I have to have a knee construction on the other leg. That was another 2 years out, and it just felt like I was never gonna, be able to do any sport again. I love football. I'm always active. And it was strange, because that's how I ended up getting to BKB. I thought, I started going to my local gym, started doing a bit of pads, a bit of bag work, and I just started feeling good again, and I could see my limp was still there, but I was like, oh, it's not so bad. When I was on the bag, if I was walking, you could see my limp, but when I was on the bags, I could sort of hide it a little bit. And then a couple of years down the line, and one of my mates, we went up to a BKB show in London, and I was like, oh, this is crazy, And then my mate said to the promoter, Jim, at the time, we've got a real good boy. And he didn't tell me about this. He said, we've got a real talented boy, and he'd fight on one of your shows. And when we come home, my mate said, oh, do you fancy doing a BKB? I goes, I can, but, I ain't going to tell anyone about this. We have to keep it quiet. So I travelled up one night up into the BKB in London, and I remember going to the show, and they had this massive heavyweight on there. It was like from America, and I think something Josh's name was. I can't remember his name. And I was like, he hit this guy, and there's blood splattering everywhere over the ring. And I was like, shit, what am I doing here? Am I crazy doing this? So I said, I just put my headphones in, went to the changing rooms. I thought, I got to relax a bit. This is crazy. But when I went in, I think I knocked the guy out on a jab. And I just fell in love with the sport. I just loved it ever since. And, the show has just evolved and just got better and better. And, fair play to Jim and Joe. They're doing a great job. And it is an absolute pleasure. I'm back fighting and part of such a big organization. It's only going to continue to grow.
Yeah, no, of course. Wow. Your story is incredible, honestly. Life is a roller coaster, and for you, it has been definitely a roller coaster, especially when you're so close to achieving something you want and then a huge incident happening, like where you broke your femur. I've actually broke my femur as well, which is it's kind of crazy. Yeah, I broke it playing football, and
Yeah.
basically the bone was like this, and now the bone's like this. So like this, my left leg is like smaller than my right leg, but I can't really feel it. Yeah, but
Yeah, same. Like with my accident, they had to put rods in there. They had to screw my knee in,
oh my
and
God,
it was just because my femur had come through my leg. See,
oh
so
no,
I got like a scar there where it come through as well. So obviously they've done an amazing job. To be fair, now my femur is so strong now.
yeah.
The only thing that will give me trouble is my opposite knee, believe it or not. But I'm always active. I always look after myself. I don't drink. I don't smoke.
Mm.
My body's in a real good place right now, which I'm really fortunate.
Honestly, like on your Instagram, when I see you train so much, and like the way you train, the things you do, it's incredible to see it. Actually, like I sometimes I watch you, I'm like, I want to go for a run. Honestly.
Well, it's really strange, right? Because all the experience I had when I was a young child, growing up as like on Team Wales, then onto Team GB, but just life experience. Now I've been all over the world. I've been to nearly every country on the planet with boxing, and I didn't, I couldn't break it down when I was young. I was a good fighter, but now I've matured into a young man. I feel like all that experience is now paying off.
Yeah.
I feel like I look at things differently. I see things differently. When I'm training, I observe things differently. And I feel like as a fighter, I can see things that not many people can see. Either working with fighters or seeing a fighter that I'm going to be fighting against. I can pick up these things and I can adapt, which really does help me with my training, because that's where my angles come from on the bag. A lot of people, they do things, textbook material, where this is how you do it. But in boxing, there's never a wrong answer. This is what a lot of coaches don't understand. Like, even though I'm good at boxing, I love teaching as well. So when I see any type of fighter where they are tall, small, skinny, boxing is a place for everybody. And I've seen so many young children be so many good schoolboys, youth, but when it comes to senior, they just don't make it. Just don't quite, the lifestyle maybe at the age of 17, 18 with your friends, going out drinking, etc. They are the obstacles that they get challenged with. But, I've seen so many late bloomers with a hard work and dedication come through. And the ones you've got to remember, as when you're a young child, some develop quicker, way quicker than others. Because so if someone is a little not so as good as they were as somebody else is at that age, that doesn't mean that fighter isn't going to be as good as that fighter. They just taking a little bit more time. And I feel like this is why in boxing, I feel this is why I love teaching boxing, because I see potential in everybody. And as a coach, I just love showing and breaking boxing down in a way that they can understand. Like, there's teaching and there's telling. And for me, this is why I say to these guys, everybody's so negative when they come into something they're not too sure about. Am I doing it wrong? No, let's just look at the positive points. The negatives, they will get brushed out in the end. If you focus on the negative too much, all the things you do good disappear. So, and that's for me, as growing into the fight that I am today, that's 100%. All those things of teaching, adapting, coaching has definitely made me a better fighter now.
Yeah, of course. And transitioning from being a boxer with gloves and then fighting in bare knuckle, has that training changed for you? Is it like a different type of training you had to do, or is it still the same kind of?
No, a lot of people ask this question and they say, "Oh, do you spar bare knuckle? Do you punch the bag bare knuckle?" I feel like if you were punching bags without gloves on, you were not punching hard enough. Do you know what I mean? I can't punch the bags with bare knuckle. I will break my hands in so many places. We've done boxing all our life. I have it especially, and my hands are wrapped to the max. I got the best gloves on, I got the best wraps on, and believe it or not, there's not a lot of changes. I've done boxing so many times. I've done, gone into that ring so many times now that it's just second nature. It's what I do naturally. So leading up from the glove boxing to bare knuckle, yes, there's no gloves on, but it just makes me more focused on not want to get hit. And that's something that's really good to my game. I hit and not get hit. That's where my skill is. I want to be a ghost in there. I want to get as close as I can to you and still feel like you can't hit me even though I'm there, and that's the difference. I want to be skimming punches, not that much, by that much, and that's what I tried to bring into the game of bare knuckle is, this show my experience in this fight coming up and really show people skills that I got. So, it's just another day in the office for me, really.
Yeah, of course. I was speaking to Jake Bostwick, and have you heard of Jake Bostwick?
I know the name, yeah.
Yeah, and he used to be an MMA fighter and a boxer, and now he does bare knuckle as well. And he was telling me that when you throw a punch with gloves, like just having that much, it makes a difference. When you throw a punch without gloves, you have to obviously extend a bit more to actually hit someone. And you just tell me like little things like that, the difference.
To be honest with you, I mean, you've got to remember, I don't mean in a nasty way. I'm talking about all mixed martial arts sports. And unfortunately, because the way the coaching is in the UK, if you don't show talent in boxing, these guys are left with the bag and their own devices. They end up they don't enjoy boxing. And this is where it leads to fighters going into MMA, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, karate, because unfortunately, most clubs will only work with talent, and those fighters then who love boxing in the beginning never got shown properly how to punch the bag and, do all the technical stuff, right? But then go into MMA, where there's lots of clubs are willing to show, brilliant floor groundwork, that's why I feel like me bringing my boxing pedigree into BKB, it didn't matter if I had 100 ounce gloves on. I know my timing, I know my distance, because I've been at a high level. It doesn't matter what size gloves I got on. I know the target really well. Where I find ones who come from a different sporting background, like MMA or, kickboxing or Muay Thai, they haven't got that technically. So they are doing all the measures in place to make sure that their time is right, their distance is right. So I understand where James is coming from, but for me, it doesn't make a difference. Like it's all on the eye, isn't it? And you look at a brickie, he doesn't half the time didn't use, a measuring stick. He just does it from the eye, and that's very similar to someone who's got a pedigree in their sport. Like I can see when I'm in distance or not.
Yeah, no, of course.
Does that make sense?
No, yeah, it makes total sense. I've I was watching your fight earlier on YouTube, and your movement, just everything about what you do is so unique. Like, you don't see bare knuckle boxers do what you do. The movement, the timing, everything that you do is incredible. I want to ask now, what is your goals? I know that you've got a title fight coming up now in March, right? Let's say, for example, you win that, which I do believe, there's a high possibility. I'm definitely rooting for you. What is your goal like after that? Let's say you win that.
To be fair, I don't jump the gun. I'm really realistic, like I said previously. I'm just going to take this fight as it is. I'm not going to say what I'm going to do after or what I'm going to do if I win it or not. I'm still obsessed with boxing. I'm still in love with the sport. I love doing it. And for me, my priority is my gym. Where I teach kids boxing, adults boxing. I do fitness classes, which is my business side of things. So for me, it's just, I enjoy showing my skills. That's all I like to do. I'm not there for money. I'm not there, to be something that I might not be. I'm just so happy to be back fighting, enjoying it without no pressure. I got no pressure. When I was a kid, I had so much pressure on fighting. If you do this, you're going to do that. If you do this, this is what you're going to have. Now I have nothing to lose. I just got my family. I got my home. I got my gym. They're my priorities. And boxing is what I love, and for me is if I'm teaching it, I think they show people that I can still do it as well. And I think that is the best way of, you know, showing your skills. And that's when you show that knowledge in the ring, people will come to you for that knowledge. So for me, it's a win-win, you know. So it's going to benefit the gym in many ways.
No, of course, yeah. No, that's an amazing answer. Like, not, you know, not thinking ahead and, like, you know, past your opponent and stuff like that. You're a type of person who, like, lives in the moment, and what you have at the moment is incredible. Like with the gym, you're providing value for other people, which is incredible as well.
Like where I'm from, you know, we are a deprived area. You know, we're just a small community. There's not a lot going on. I feel like if I could do it with my past, and I had a really bad past, which, you know, we haven't really talked depth into it, but I feel like if I can have that positive effect on young children, you know, where there's a place where there's only social media to hide away from at the minute, which is, you know, more negatives than positive, unfortunately, where as an adult these days, we like, all the parents are moaning about social media, but we just got to move on. We got to understand this is our generation, where this is where the children are born into social media. So don't be negative with it, be positive with it. So for me, this is what I do in my gym. I do loads of videos with the kids, boxing, sparring, and that is something that they will take on and put on their Instagram. And I remember I had this one kid, obviously I can't mention names, and she was getting bullied in school, you know, on a daily basis. You know, bullying is something that happens every single day. And she started coming to the gym, and she started showing, you know, I've done a bit of work with her, doing the pads, you know, she started enjoying it. And you just got to be so delicate with you know, with the children these days, because if you take a bang on the nose too early, you might not see them again. But she started to really enjoy it, and we started, you know, putting all the Instagram videos up, and now she's one of the most popular kids in school, you know, because just from that little bit of positive social media. And that's what it can do to children's lives. They can start getting out of that dark space in their bedroom, doing nothing, being lazy, being, you know, rubbish with mom and dad, how they speak to them, because that's what every other child is doing. But when they start being more positive and outgoing and start doing regular exercise, where they can let steam off, punching the bags, and, you know, and showing them that discipline, and giving them a goal and routine, which is the most important thing, that's when you just start seeing a different child, you know. And for me, is I got to see the whole world. I mean, I've been to places that, you know, third world countries, where they're probably my most favorite countries, because the people who meet out there, like I remember I made friends with this guy who was selling melons. I was in Serbia. He was selling melons, and I was just like, why is this guy so happy? He just there shaking his head with a big smile. And I was thinking, this guy is smiling like he has everything, yet he had nothing. I'm thinking, this person has more value of life than I have, because he was there smiling, good manners, showing respect. And that showed to me, you know, when you travel the world, these are the kind of people who can meet and get to know. And it wasn't about money. It wasn't about, you know, being on Team GB or Team Wales. Those are the people I wanted to be mixing with. They're the people I wanted to have life experience with. And that's when you come home and you start talking to people. And that's how you become a good teacher, you know, because you value life so much more. And for me, is if I can do it and travel the world, why can't the kids do it with someone like myself who've got all that experience? I can show them the way on, you know, maybe doing what I did, if not better.
Incredible, honestly. It's amazing. And just listening to you, you know, it really motivates me as well. And I'm the type of person who likes to surround myself with like-minded people. And my jiu-jitsu coach, Ash Williams, he's someone I love to be around, because when you're around him, you feel happy, you know, you feel incredible just being around him, because of how positive he is as well. And like Aiden James and stuff like that.
I know Ash, he's up in my stake, isn't he?
I'm not sure where he owns. Well, he's coaching Chris Reese's academy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you know, nice guy.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy. Yeah, honestly, and he's a beast as well. He's like number 4 in the world in jiu-jitsu, which is incredible. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, no, like you're like a person that I'd love to like definitely like just surround myself with. So it's nice to have the kids come into your gym where you're the person that they look up to, and you know they can take all the value from you. So that's honestly incredible. um I wanna ask you now, just before I let you go, obviously, if you could go back in time, I always end like podcasts with this question. I just find it fascinating what people say. If you could go back in
Yeah.
time, what would you tell your younger self?
So to be honest with you, right? You know, I'm not going to be one of those guys in 20 years' time when I got grey hair, a couple of wrinkles, who goes down the pub with the lads and go, "Oh, I could have done that."
Hmm.
Yeah, do you know what? I won a Welsh Race. Yeah, when you was 9. Or the ones where you go to the pub and they go, "I used to play for the Swans." Right, oh, how old was you? 13.
Yeah.
I don't want to be. I explain to the children now, don't be one of those guys down the pub in 20 years' time, said I could have done this and could have done that. It never happened.
Hmm.
So moving forward, if there's anything that you want to do, you just got to make sure that you go out there and do it. And unfortunately, like I said, we are from a small community. So if you are showing different characteristics, different targets, different goals, you stand out and you don't become like the rest of the children. So they do sort of push you away. So that is the battle between peer pressure on, do I follow suit with the other children and just, go out to my BMX, start drinking on the corner, smoking fags, and then that leads to drugs and then alcohol. That's where the pressures are from a young child, going through all those phases from the age, 13 to 19, 20 until you become a young adult. So, I wouldn't change anything from a young age because I was lucky enough to make the right decisions at that age, where that was the difference between me traveling the whole world, meeting these people and experience these, amazing things, or following suit what everybody else is doing. So for me, it's just, I don't want to change nothing when I was a young kid because I feel like I really did handle it that well, even though the circumstances of having a bad background, of being in and out of foster care, and then facing those teenage obstacles, going out with the boys, drinking or taking drugs. But I stood out. I didn't want that lifestyle. Yet everybody else was doing that lifestyle. I thought I was there going to the gym with my boxing bag, when I was going past the corner shop with the steps where all the boys saying, "Come here, Dan," and I'd be like, "Oh, 50-50," and I got £1 in my pocket to pay my coach to go to the gym. And what I used to do is I go to the shop and buy sweets instead. But I'd be doing sit-ups in the gym and my coach be shouting at me as my sweets are falling out of my pocket. And then he'd go, "Where's your £1? Oh, what it is, John? I spent it on sweets." So, I can laugh back at those moments because, I could have easily just been drinking a flag and a white lightning on the steps like and for me, it's like, I was devastated what happened, with the stop me being the pro boxer that I always dreamt to be, or going to the Olympic Games, but I can't control a freak tragedy that's out of my hands, That was a pure accident. And for me, I had all the hard work and dedication, not just the talent. My advice to all the youngsters is, yeah, you could be super talented, but you need all the 5 ingredients. You need to be working hard. You need good association. You need to surround yourself, like you said, with positive people who got similar goals to yourself. And that way, things will 100% work out. But you can't avoid the peer pressures on obstacles. You are going to make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. That's how you learn.
Yeah. No.
The only way you learn if you don't do that mistake again.
Yeah.
If you keep doing that mistake, you haven't learned. So yeah, I'd be honest with you, I wouldn't change anything. But that's a good question.
No, that's amazing. And it's been amazing just talking to you, Dan, honestly. I might just go for a run now. Just hyped
No,
up.
I was gonna say is when the gym's open, you're welcome up anytime. Honestly, it'd be a pleasure to have you up, and we do some pad work with you.
Oh, thank you so much. Honestly, I really enjoy like fighting and boxing and mixed martial arts, so that'll be amazing.
Brilliant.
Yeah, like if
Yeah,
you ever,
it'd be a pleasure to have you up.
yeah, and like, sorry, if you ever want to come to Chris Reese's Academy, you know, the boys would love to have you. Just, you know, you could coach us and just see how it goes, and yeah, that'd be amazing.
Oh, I'd be in my arms. I love it. It'd be awesome.
Brilliant. No, thank you. And I'm not going to say good luck. I'm going to say be great for March. At the end of March, your fight. I know that you know you're going to do amazing. I can't wait to watch it. Honestly, it's just watching you now is it's incredible. Just how fast you move and just your movement is incredible.
So it has been a blessing in a way with the lockdown, because running a gym and trying to train is so difficult. All my time and energy is in my business, and I think this time everyone will get to really see how good I am, because I've focused just on myself. And it's been a long time coming, and I'm really excited.
No, of course. Yeah, no, thank you so much. What I'll do, guys, I'll leave Dan's social media down below. Make sure you go and check him out. Honestly, this guy is someone, you know, who is gonna definitely, you're gonna see more of him for sure, honestly. But yeah, no, thank you again, Dan. I appreciate your time and all the best.
Well, to be honest with you, when I got that world title, we do another podcast and we talk about that then, right?
Oh, of course. I can't wait. Thank you.